Hello everyone, it's Norm again. Thank you for joining one more time. I hope you're not sick of me yet because there's more coming. Today's sketch, continuing the Gremlins theme, is going to be a very loose interpretation of Billy Peltzer. Billy Peltzer and his giant, weird, curly hair. As I've mentioned before, I'm not particularly good at drawing individual real actors. And the issue is compounded when the actor is a young person whose face has not yet achieved the distinct cragginess of an old, broken-down person that to provide the instantly recognizable ridges and scarring and horrible pitted pockmarks of your Tommy Lee Jones or Steve Buscemi. Basically, unless you're really good at caricature, your final product for a young actor is going to be a figure that could be mistaken for any number of other young actors. That's why, if you are going to be doing this kind of thing, you want to be really good at drawing hair. I am not good at drawing hair. In fairness, hair is a very difficult thing to draw well. The human eye does not perceive hair as the individual strands that it is. It kind of does, and that's part of the problem. But unless the hair is actively moving, like in the wind or in water, you're going to be seeing it as essentially one solid mass. The texturing that you apply later will signal that it is composed of individual strands, but that's you need to get the solid mass built out first. Fortunately for somebody like Billy on an ink drawing, you can pretty much just black it out and fake most of it, and that is 100% what I intend to do. Anyway, enough of my inadequacies, let's move on to the news of the day. If you've been paying attention to world events recently, you'll probably notice that the biggest and most important news to come out recently is that I have hatched some sea monkeys. I purchased these sea monkeys around Christmas time, back when I was shopping for my nephew's gift. I saw them listed. This was the Sea Monkeys on Mars kit, and I remembered back in my young years that I actually did have sea monkeys prior, and I got hit by a wave of nostalgia. Interestingly, I remember having the sea monkeys. I remember seeing them floating around doing they weren't doing anything interesting, but I don't remember how exactly they shuffled off their mortal coils. I know they are dead. I don't remember the method that they died. Unfortunately, the fact that I don't remember how they died increases the likelihood that I was the culprit, because the way I remember it is that I had sea monkeys and then suddenly I didn't have sea monkeys, and that really reeks of like leaving them in a windowsill in the hot sun or forgetting that they existed for a couple weeks. All shamefully plausible. But, of course, what is the purpose of a sea monkey except to teach a young child about mortality? Mortality and, of course, false advertising, because sea monkeys do not look like the little pictures they have on the box. Not to disillusion, if there's any kids in the room, shuffle out, you don't want to hear this. But, yeah, it is blatantly not a little kingdom of little people. Which, in fairness, the kingdom of the little people is inherently disturbing because these are, I'll just say it, they're upsettingly nude. Every drawing of a sea monkey in a sea monkey advertisement gives them the physique and the skin tone of a 50-year-old male nudist. The kind of string beanie arms and the pot belly and the spindly legs. I was trying to think if they would be less disturbing if somebody had drawn shorts on them, but no, honestly, because if they did, you can just sort of tell they wouldn't be putting like cargo shorts on them. They would be putting a Speedo on them, little black Speedo, and they'd probably give them a little gold chain around the neck. Let me emphasize this. Sea monkeys look that way deliberately. They're not a interpretation of the actual creature, which the actual creature just looks like a pale, hairy, bug-eyed Cheeto. So it was a deliberate act on the part of the commercial designer to make the fake sea monkeys look like a guy named Frank who tries to hold a conversation with you while you're both in a state of undress in the locker room. No kid wants to look into his little fish tank and see a tiny guy there who looks like he's about to ask you to pass him the talcum powder. Anyway, yes, I did hatch some sea monkeys. The amazing instant pets. First off, they're instant in name only. I'll try not to go too in-depth on the process because I know it's not particularly interesting. But when you get the sea monkeys, first you get the little tank, and then you get 3 packets of mysterious powders. The first one is a water prep solution. It's a little pouch you pour in. You're supposed to put in like bottled water. You can use tap water. And then you purify the water with the first pouch. So you put a little powder in there, and then you have to wait 24 hours. So immediately right out the gate, even if you're obeying to the letter, they're not that instant. Which, I mean, of course, as an adult, you're already used to disappointment. But as a child, that's the first real hint of betrayal. So you're already waiting 24 hours at the minimum to hatch your sea monkeys. When the 24 hours is up and the water is assumed pure enough to sustain sea monkey life, you get to open the second pack, which is the eggs, and you pour those in. And according to the instruction booklet, you should, within a minute or two, see little wriggling dots of sea monkeys. But here's the fine print. Your sea monkeys are only going to hatch instantly if the water has been kept at a temperature between 75 and 80 degrees. Now, it goes without saying that the $12 sea monkey pack did not include a built-in heater for the 16 fluid ounce sea monkey environment. So unless you've been storing your sea monkeys in like an old person's living room, you're going to be getting regular room temperature. You're going to be about 70 to 72, and at that temperature, your sea monkeys have no interest in getting up early. They're going to pull the covers back over their head, hit the biological snooze timer, and the first one you're going to see is going to be emerging within about a day, which is what happened with me. The next day, there was 1 little sea monkey. Next day after that, there were 3, and then after that, I think we've hit the 10 plus numbers. But yeah, they are not instant, except under extremely specific circumstances. So I'm glad to have this chance to expose the powerful Sea Monkey Corporation. They've enjoyed their ill-gotten billions for far too long. Now, if you've heard my talk of sea monkeys and you're thinking, maybe I would like to try the sea monkey lifestyle myself, you probably have some questions. One of the first big questions you're going to ask, naturally, is how long do sea monkeys live? Are we talking a Tamagotchi commitment, or is this something we're going to have to include care and feeding instructions in our last will and testament? Well, the Sea Monkey Corporation has anticipated your question, and they included with the kit a helpful frequently asked questions pamphlet to address these concerns. This consists of a 1-page FAQ, and it consists of 3 questions exactly. Apparently people aren't really clamoring for a lot of sea monkey knowledge. But those 3 questions are they brine shrimp? How long do sea monkeys live? And are sea monkeys safe? Now, to answer the last question first, because as with any other abomination of science, that question of safety is going to be the first one on your mind. The official response is, sea monkeys are in no way harmful to humans or the environment. That is the entirety of the answer. Now, I hope that is completely true because, as you can tell from the answer, it is a 1-sentence answer. It's kind of vague. I mean, if it is literal truth, they are in no way harmful, then I suppose that covers every base. But if you are, for instance, a parent, then you're really trying to address very specific harms. You're not necessarily asking, are roving packs of sea monkeys terrorizing my neighborhood? You're trying to find out, is it safe if my kid drinks the entire container or shoves them all up his nose? But in the absence of a more specific answer, we're just going to assume yes. If little Johnny comes out of the family room with a wriggling mass of them in both nostrils, you can just pat him on the head and say, that's fine. Sea Monkey Corp said it's okay. Less pressing, of course, is the first question, are they brine shrimp? And this is clearly a sore point for the Sea Monkey Corporation because they kind of have to concede the point. Yes, they are a species of brine shrimp, but they make a very important point of saying that they are unique. And I quote, "We not only unlocked the most elusive secrets of their life cycle, we created new formulas to keep them alive under conditions found in the average home, an accomplishment never before achieved. Finally, after years of crossbreeding, we developed a hybrid. These amazing new hybrids grow larger and live longer than any natural variety of brine shrimp." Now, this is a reasonable answer, but I want to address the fact that there are literally only 3 questions being asked in this FAQ, and are they brine shrimp is one of them. Not how big do they grow or what do I feed them. We actually have an answer to that one a little later on. But are they brine shrimp? Clearly, for this to be one of the 3 only questions addressed in the FAQ, it has to be something of a sensitive topic up in Sea Monkey HQ. I can only assume that there were a large number of sea monkey detractors dismissing these sea monkeys as just another of the thousands of varieties of brine shrimp brought into the market every day. And somebody from Sea Monkey Corporate saw this, like probably an op-ed in the newspaper, "Sea monkeys, just brine shrimp," and he spat out his donut and he slammed down his coffee and vein is bulging in his forehead, and he's like, "You rats, you dirty rats," and he furiously jettisoned 2/3 of the FAQ and put in the "Are they brine shrimp" response. Typed in 5 minutes of white hot rage. Anyway, are they brine shrimp? Yes, they are. Now, finally, this is the important one. How long do sea monkeys live? You'll be happy to know that this question is followed by a fairly in-depth paragraph of information. Unfortunately, none of the information in that paragraph actually answers how long do sea monkeys live. Allow me to read the response to how long do sea monkeys live in its entirety. An exact pre-blended formula of magic crystals, quote-unquote, and live sea monkey eggs are inside the envelope supplied in every sea monkey's kit. When added to water, live sea monkeys will hatch. That's why anyone can get perfect results without any knowledge of chemistry or biology, just by following the easy instructions. You create instant life. The only extra is the water. At birth, these sea monkeys are very tiny, no larger than the period at the end of this sentence. That is why it's impossible to overlook them when they are first born. Since their fate is in your hands, do not discard the formula if you don't see them right away. To do so would be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That is the entire response to how long do sea monkeys live. And except for ignoring the question entirely, I find it was a perfectly adequate response. With that said, a friend actually looked up the answer to that one for me. Thank you, Heirloom. The answer is approximately 1 to 2 months, although the oldest brine shrimp on record made it to approximately 5 years. I think it is safe to say that the owner of this brine shrimp was not 10-year-old me. Oh, and finally, to address the question of what exactly sea monkeys eat, they eat what is in packet number 3, sea monkey growth food. Approximately once every 5 days, you take a little tiny spoon of the growth food and kind of just drop it into their tank. You don't want to overfeed. If the water is cloudy, then you wait until it clears up and then you feed them again. And that takes care of your sea monkey's nutritional needs. Now, the packet containing the sea monkey growth food is about 1.5 inches square, and it's about as thin as a thin sheet of cardboard. And you may wonder, at the rate of a spoonful every 5 days, how long does that tiny little packet of growth food last? Well, from all gathered evidence, the sad answer is the rest of their lives. Though a refill order form is included in the Sea Monkey kit, from the available evidence, I am going to say that nobody has ever reordered a second packet of Sea Monkey growth food. It's a hard old world out there, particularly when your caretaker is 10-year-old me. But again, that is the point of sea monkeys, to teach youngsters the life cycle. Birth, growth, oops, and let's hold off on a puppy. Anyway, enough about sea monkeys. How much time do we got left? Here, allow Uncle Norm to serve you up some filler in the form of weird facts to stretch this thing about another minute. Fact number 1. Did you know that in the 1840s, around the dawn of commercial photography, when people were getting their portraits taken, they were not instructed to say cheese, but rather to say prunes. Why did they do this? Reportedly, it was to get the proper mouth shape. And if you're thinking that's odd, that prunes does not lend itself to a smile as cheese does, then remember that at that time, long exposure time for photographs meant that it was pretty rare to see anybody smiling in a picture. In fact, some of the best and clearest portrait photos of the time were taken of literal cadavers, who tended on the whole to be less fidgety than the living. So there you go. The next time that you have a photograph taken, consider saying prunes instead of cheese, and perhaps your photographer too will remark to himself, that individual is as photogenic as a corpse. Okay, one last fact here. If you watch old cartoons, you may at one point or another have seen the image of the dunce cap. The pointed cap that old-timey teachers would put on their less teachable students to shame and humiliate them into more scholarly behavior. This was, of course, introduced before the modern system where you simply got the shame and humiliation from your fellow classmates. Now, if you're young, you may think to yourself, this seems like kind of a cruel and unusual punishment. Why would they allow this in schools? Then you're clearly not familiar with the old-timey educational system. As long as the teachers returned you alive at the end of the week, that was considered a wash. If you came home like missing a leg, then you didn't draw attention to it because that was clear evidence that you were misbehaving in class. Your dad would make you hop out to the woodshed and get a switch. Anyway, did you know that the dunce cap was actually named after Scottish priest and philosopher John Duns Scotus? And rather than being a bumbling idiot, as you'd assume, in his time he was considered a fairly well-respected scholar. Granted, this was by the loose scholarly standards of the 13th century, when people believed that mice were spontaneously born of hay piles, but the dunce cap was allegedly born of Scotus's belief that a pointy head was more conducive to efficient thinking. Fast forward a few hundred years and a different set of philosophers have risen to prominence, and competing less insane theories have made the pointy head hypothesis less popular inside the philosopher community. The dunce cap therefore is introduced as something of a philosopher in-joke, and that is a lesson for us all that no matter how brightly your star may shine, eventually a bunch of nerds will use our memory as a cruel gag on unsuspecting children. Okay, I am wrapping it up for today. Once again, if you liked the video, subscribe, do hit the notification button, put a comment down there. YouTube likes engagement. They don't actually care what kind of engagement, so you can just haul off on me if you like. Tell me I've gotten too woke or not woke enough. Say hurtful things about my pointy head theory. Really get a conversation going. Alternatively, you can help make YouTube's dumb algorithm irrelevant by supporting us directly on Patreon. You can find the link to that in the description below. Go there to see all new comics, videos, and games, including stuff that never makes it to YouTube. Okay, I'm putting the grease gun away now. Until next time, this is Norm Scott. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope your day goes well. Y'all take care. Like the video gamers? We have more such wonders to show you, and all you have to do is subscribe and hit the notifications button.
I mean, you don't have to.
Also consider becoming a patron by following the link to our Patreon page, where we turn your cash into videos, comics, and games using the darkest of dark magics.
But mostly just cash.